Alibaba just released Qwen 3.8 Max 2 weeks ago. They showed us a preview of this model. That preview came with a big claim and not a single benchmark number. Today the numbers arrived and they came from somewhere useful, not just from Alibaba, from Arena, which is a public leaderboard where real people compare two answers and vote for the better one. On three different Arena boards, this model finished fifth, fourth, and second. Let me show you what that means and whether it should change what you use. Here are the three results side by side. On the text board, it is number 5. On the front end code board, it is number 4. And then on the vision board, it is number 2. Now look at who is above it: Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, and Moonshot. Let us get the plain facts out of the way first. The model has 2.4 trillion parameters. Parameters are the dial inside a model. More dials usually means more capacity. This is the largest model Alibaba has ever put out. The price is $2 per million tokens going in and $6 per million coming out. There's a third number that matters more than people think. Cash input costs 25 cents when you send the same document or the same code base again and again. You pay an 8 of the normal input weight for the repeated part. Vision is built in from the start, not added later, and they say the weights go open next week. Both the big model and a smaller 27 billion version. Today, nothing is open. Next week is a promise. Keep that in mind. Now, this is the text board. People type a question and get two answers and pick the one they like more. Thousands of votes turn into a score. Qwen 3.Max sits at number 5 with 1496. Look at the four above it. All four are Claude, and three of those four are the same model at different thinking budgets. So in terms of different companies, it is closer to second than it looks. Now look at the gap. Rank 1 is 1519, rank 5 is 1496, 13 points apart. On a board built from human votes, 13 point is nothing. It is like two runners finishing a marathon 4 seconds apart. Technically 1-1. In practice, they ran the same race and it is ahead of Gemini 3 Pro, ahead of Kimi K3, and ahead of GPT 5.6. So this is Arena's own chart. I've not redrawn it. This is exactly what they published. This board is about building two web pages. Two models build the same thing and a person picks the page they prefer. Qwen 3.8 Max is number 4 with 68. Now look one row up, Claude Opus 5 at the high setting score 1669. 1 point, that is the gap, and below it the gap opens up fast. Claude Fable 5 is 38 points behind GPT 5.6 Soul. It's 48 points behind, so it is not sitting comfortably in fourth. It is pressed right up and against third and pulling away from fifth. Hold that thought because in a minute I will tell you what that three models above it cost. Now this one surprised me. This is the vision board. You give the model a picture, ask about it, and people vote on the better answer. Qwen 3.8 Max is number 2 in the world. Only Claude Fable 5 is above it. And look at everything below it. Every Claude Opus, every Gemini, every GPT. This is the strongest of its three results, and it is one getting the least attention. It also fits the design story Alibaba told, which I will come back in a few slides. This chart is the one that made people sit up. Across the bottom is price, on the side is score. Every square is a model. One warning before you read it: the price axis runs backwards. Expensive is on the left, cheap is on the right. The green line joins the best deals. If a model is on that line, it means nothing gives you a better score for the same money. Qwen 3.8 Max is on that line at $5 per million blended. Think of it like shopping for a car. There are faster cars, but at this price, nothing is faster. That is what being on the line means. It is not the best model in the world. It is the best model you can buy at this price. Those are two different claims, and only the second one is being made here. Let us turn that into a bill you would actually pay. Take one agent job, 200,000 tokens going in, 50,000 coming out. That is normal when you attach a code base. On Claude Opus 5, that job cost about $8.25. On GPT 5.6 Full, about $4.10. On Qwen 3.8 Max, 70 cents only. And if most of your input is cached, which it is when you keep asking about the same repo, it drops to about 35 cents only. Same job, roughly a tenth of the price. This is the part that changes behavior. When a job costs $8, you think before you run it. When it costs 35 cents, you just run it and then you run it 50 more times. Now the benchmarks Alibaba published themselves. I want to be fair here, so I'm showing you the wins and the losses on the same slide. On paper bench, which asks a model to produce a research paper from scratch, it scores 93. That is the best number on the row. On terminal bench, which is about working in a terminal like a real engineer, it is 6.6 ahead of Opus and Fable. Behind Ghibli 5.6 tool. On React frontend, work 1724 ahead of Opus behind Fable. And then the losses on SWE Bench Pro 67.7. Claude Fable 5 gets 80, that is a wide gap. On Frontier SWE 73.5 against 88.8. So here's the honest read. For research work and terminal work, it is at the top. For hard software engineering, Claude is still clearly better, and you can see it here. Now the vision side and the picture changes. Visual, web development, visual perception, embodied reasoning, long video, computer use, chart reading, 6 rows. It leads or ties on every one of them. Look at the perception bench. In particular, 63.5 against 47 for Opus. That is not a small win. That is a different league. And this lines up with what we saw on the Arena Vision board, two separate ways of measuring, both saying the same thing. When a self-reported benchmark and an independent vote agree, you can trust the results more. Now, the biggest claim in the launch, Alibaba says they pointed this model at an empty folder and left it alone for 10 days. No plan handed to it, no template. It decided the structure, wrote the code, ran the test, and read the failures and fixed them over and over for 10 days. You can see 10 days is a big numbers, and they published the full commit history on GitHub so anyone can check every step it took. That last part matters. Anyone can claim a model worked around for 10 days. Publishing the trace means people can go and argue with it. There are two more claims like this: 500 rounds of chip design tuning, and a full year of e-commerce strategy. I would treat all three as interesting rather than proven, but the trace is public, so you can go and look before you decide. So why this? Why is the vision score so high? That is the design idea behind it. In most models, a picture is something you hand it at the start. You show it a screenshot, it answers and stops looking. Think about or think of a builder who reads the plan once in the morning, then works from memory all day. If something reads off the plan at 10 in the morning, it stays wrong until someone walks in. This model keeps looking while it works. It plans, it builds, it renders what it built and looks at it. Then it sees the gap and fixes it, and then it goes back to building and does it again. The third step, the looking, is the part most models skip. That is why the visual web development scores moved, and it is why it is second in the world on the vision board. Next week, they say the open weights go open. Two models, the big one at 2.4 billion and a small one at 27 billion. You will never run the big one at home. It matters for a different reason. Once weights are open, any cloud provider can host it, and hosting competition pushes prices down. The small one is the one most people will actually touch. It fits on one machine and it comes from the same training recipe. But say it plainly, nothing is open today. Release dates moves. If your plant depends on self-hosting, wait until you can see the weights and read the license. Now the part I would want someone to tell me first, the benchmark table is Alibaba's own. They ran it and they chose which models to compare against. The arena boards are independent. The table is not. Treat them differently. Second, it is not the best coder. On the hardest software engineering test, Claude Fable 5 is well ahead. Third, on the hardest reasoning test called Humanity's Last Exam, it gets 43.6. Fable 5 gets 53.3. That is the weakest column in the whole table. Should you move? Move if you build front ends. Fourth on that board at a tenth of the price is hard to argue with. Move if your work is visual. Second in the world is the best result it has. Move if you run agents in a loop all day, because that cache 25% rate is where your bill actually lives. You can move if cost is the reason, so you are not running agents on everything already. Stay if your work is hard engineering, Claude still wins there. Stay if you need the very top of the engineering or the reasoning boards. Stay if your plan needs self-hosting until the weights land. And stay if you have works and money is not a problem. So there is no price for switching fast. The smartest move is not to pick one, send front end and vision work here and keep hard engineering where it already works. One last thing, you can see the big picture. This did not happen on its own. On the 19th of July, Moonshot released Kimi K3 at 2.8 trillion parameters with open weights. On the same day, Alibaba announced at Qwen3.8-Max preview 2.4 trillion parameters and no benchmarks at all. And today, 2 weeks later, everything arrives at once. The benchmark table, three arena boards, and the price. That is the real story here. Two very large models from two Chinese labs, 2 weeks apart, both landing inside the top group. The gap between the leaders and everyone else is closing faster than most people expected. Now let us pull it together. First, three arena boards, three strong ranks. Fifth on text, fourth on code, second on vision. Second, $2 in, $6 out, and 25 cents for cash input, about a tenth of what it is sits above it. Third, it sits on the price to score frontier, which means nothing beats it without costing you more. Four, vision is the biggest surprise. Second in the world, and six wins on the vision benchmark. Five, hard software engineering still goes to Claude. Six, open weights are next week, not today. If this was useful, give it a like and subscribe. I cover every big model like this with the real numbers and the honest gaps. Tell me in the comments which model you want me to pull apart. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like my video, you can subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.